Welcome to Brewers Daily. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to here on a Wednesday show. Got the first cut from Brewers Major League Camp coming up. Also another pitcher highlight that we'll get to. And a big game from a former top prospect that still has prospect status. But I want to start with Brandon Woodruff once again. So on yesterday's show, we were talking about how Brandon Woodruff, his goal isn't necessarily opening day, right? It's a healthy season. He's not necessarily looking at that timeline, not as worried about it. He feels in a good spot. He's not injured, but they're taking it slow and methodical with that build-up, even though that may potentially mean he misses opening day. Because he's coming into the year, he's projected to be the opening day starter for the Brewers. That would be the expectation for everyone. So then yesterday, it kind of sets off a little bit of a panic for everyone when it's like, he might not be ready for it as he's gone slowly through his offseason progression. But the Brewers, kind of sensing that panic a little bit, offered some clarification today. So the Brewers putting out there, clarifying that Woodruff, he's scheduled for a 2-up, so basically 2-inning live bullpen session on March 1st, and then he will begin his game progression. And the quote is, on track to begin the season in the rotation. So that should kind of put all the fears at bay for the time being, because that was kind of the thought where it's like, I don't know, but he's going to begin the season in the rotation, and if he's beginning it in the rotation, odds are it's going to be opening day, that he's going to be there, even if it's only 4 innings, 5 innings, whatever it is. But no injury, had his 25-pitch bullpen session the other day, and now he's going to have a 2-inning live BP on March 1st, and then we'll see him in Cactus League games. They kind of take it a little bit slower there. They do that a lot for these guys who are a bit more established, just not putting them in Cactus League action yet, even though most of these performances are just for 1 inning. They just kind of keep them on the back mounds over there, getting their work in, because that's all that really matters, right? That's all the point is, getting the work in. You face hitters. I mean, they're going to have whoever it is, standing in the box against them. It's not necessarily, doesn't have to be facing opponents in Cactus League games at that point. For some of those guys where you're trying to make the team, they'd like to see them face those other opponents. For a guy like Brandon Woodruff, not quite as necessary. Also, just kind of a further addition there from Todd Rosiak here, Garrett Mitchell is slated to make his spring training Cactus League debut today here against the San Francisco Giants. So very excited for that. So we're going to see Garrett Mitchell in the lineup here today. So, but Woodruff is going to be on track. So sounds like he's not going to be missing opening day. So that is very good news. So, okay. Brandon Woodruff, good news there. Also good news, Tyler Black. My goodness, what he was able to do on Tuesday against the not Oakland, not Sacramento, but not Las Vegas Athletics was just incredible. 3 for 3 with 6 RBIs, and he was a triple shy of the cycle. Now, granted, these are spring training games. They really don't mean a whole hell of a lot. Him lighting up some Oakland Athletics, not Oakland, but not Sacramento, but not, you get the point. Lighting up some Athletics pitchers in a February spring training game is not necessarily going to mean that he's finally going to be fulfilling his prospect hype that he had for all these years. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It does mean that he is now a legit contender for that Brad Nelson Award that we were talking about with Brandon Lockridge, putting himself out there. Lockridge had 2 homers in 2 games. He was looking like a surefire leader for that spot, but very quickly, Tyler Black entering his name into the Brad Nelson Award running. So he is quickly becoming a big contributor in spring training. I just don't know where the fit is for Tyler Black on this team. I think his best fit is the role that Jake Bauers currently has. Being the backup first baseman, a left-handed hitting backup first baseman with the ability to play some left field, that's what Jake Bauers is. Jake Bauers is that pop off the bench, left-handed first baseman that can spell Andrew Vaughn when you need him to, and he can play some corner outfield if you really need him to. That's exactly what Tyler Black is. He's a left-handed hitter. He'll be the backup at first base. and he can play some corner outfield if you need him to. But as long as Jake Bauers is here, it's really hard to find a spot for Tyler Black. I mean, even if something happens to Andrew Vaughn, they need a right-handed complement to Bauers with the left-handed. So Black being left-handed, unless the Brewers want to move off of Jake Bauers, which they could. Bauers is in his last year of team control before hitting free agency. He hasn't been particularly great. He's had great moments. It always seems like with Jake Bauers that as soon as he is right on the verge of getting cut, of the Brewers finally running out of patience with him, he hits like 2 homers in 4 days, and next thing you know, Jake Bauers is on a heater and he's able to keep his job for the next month or two. It's insane how it happens all the time. But that makes it tough for Tyler Black. As much as he can have these great games, as he can go 3 for 3, a home run, a 3-run single, which is just wild to think of, but full count, bases loaded, 2 outs, so runners were in motion on the pitch, and just lace a single in the right center, and you end up getting 3 runs to score. So great. Love the aggressiveness there. Hits a home run down the right field line. Just barely kept it in. Wonderful. Rings a double as well. I mean, it's a fantastic game from Tyler Black. I'm still not sure how much he's going to be a guy for this team, at least this year, until the Brewers decide to move on from Jake Bauers, which the Brewers like Jake Bauers quite a bit. Pat Murphy likes Bauers. Just his veteran presence, I guess you could call it, what he brings in the clubhouse there. The Brewers like him. So it's going to be tough to see them cutting bait with Bauers just to give Tyler Black a shot. Maybe Tyler Black can perform well enough that some other team is going to call the Brewers about him. But also, with the ABS challenge system in place now, maybe Tyler Black can actually have some more success. It seems like when Black has had those limited big league opportunities, that he has gotten hosed on a couple of strike calls that looked like they were outside or looked like they were not in the zone, but he had no ability to challenge them previously. And now he does. He's got an elite eye at the plate, and maybe now with that ABS challenge system, Black might stand a little bit better chance in the big leagues. So he was dealing with the hamate injury last year. That didn't really help him. So maybe this is just going to be a fresh year for him, and he's finally going to deliver on that incredible prospect hype that he had. We shall see, but this is certainly a great first step. We can't really make any sweeping generalizations. It is February still. So one great game does not make a great season. Again, Brad Nelson Award. We've seen that. So still, even with that, great game, great first step. Let's see if Black can continue that as things move forward. So, you're getting those hits. You can feel the testosterone flowing through you, and you certainly don't want to be losing any of that, which is why there is Mars Men. So Mars Men is going to support healthy T levels for you, energy, stamina, especially if you're on the other side of 30. You start losing testosterone at that point, about 1% every year after that. So just think of how old you are and how many years past 30 that is, and that's how much percentage of testosterone you've lost. So you want to get that back. Mars for Men is perfect for you. It's made in the USA. It's got 8 natural, clinically dosed ingredients, which you love to see. And also 90-day money-back guarantee. So can't go wrong with that at all. Even if you don't like it, but I think you will, you can get your money back with it. But also, for a limited time, our listeners get a 50% off for life. For life. Plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts at checkout. And after you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support Brewers Daily and tell them that Brewers Daily sent you. All right, now I want to get to our pitcher highlight of the day here. And I'm going to go with Chad Patrick as my pitcher highlight. So I also, prior to starting this here, I saw on Instagram Chad Patrick just posted out there that he got inducted into the Athletics Hall of Fame at his alma mater, Purdue Northwest, in Hammond, Indiana, which could be the new home of the Chicago Bears. That's right, Hammond, Indiana could be the new home of the Chicago Bears. But that's beside the point. But Chad Patrick, obviously, ton of success last year, his rookie year with the Milwaukee Brewers. ERA of 3.53, 27 games, 23 starts, 119 and 2/3 innings in the regular season. He was electric. Ended up finishing 7th in Rookie of the Year voting. Just absolutely came up and dominated when the Brewers needed him most, because they had the rotation issues early on in the season, all these guys getting hurt. That opened up an opportunity for Chad Patrick, and Patrick just took it and ran with it. And then obviously he was phenomenal in the postseason as well for the Brewers. So Patrick comes into the season, and I think he is in one of the better spots to actually land a rotation gig outside of your top three of Woodruff, Mizorowski, and Quinn Priester. I think those three are pretty much locks, provided they're healthy. The last two spots are up for grab, and Patrick certainly has a lot of competition for those final few spots. Logan Henderson he's competing with, DL Hall, Aaron Ashby potentially looked at as starters as well. Then you run down the list, you got Brandon Sproat that they brought in, you got Kyle Harrison that they brought in, Shane Drowan that they brought in, also Coleman Crow and Robert Gasser. You got Carlos Rodriguez in that mix as well. So there are a lot of guys the Brewers could go with for those final two rotation spots. But Chad Patrick might be in the best position of that group outside of the top three, just with what he did last year, how he impressed Pat Murphy and the coaching staff, his grit, his attitude going into those games, how he pitched. I think that makes him a very strong candidate. And I'm not sure how repeatable his season is. I mean, it certainly is possible given the Brewers' pitching prowess. Chad Patrick, 6th percentile ground ball percentage. Typically, a lot of the Brewers' success, that they like guys with high ground ball rates. Quinn Priester, for example, found a ton of success because he keeps the ball on the ground, and the Brewers have great infield defense. Chad Patrick is more of a fly ball pitcher for the Brewers. So that's not kind of their usual level, but he's got 6 pitches in his arsenal. He mixes them well. I mean, he goes cutter, sinker, 4-seam. So he's got 3 different fastballs in there to go along with a changeup and a slider and a slurve that he throws just about 2% of the time. So he's got a whole bunch of different fastball variations, which the Brewers certainly like tinkering with and being able to mix that. You mix that well, I mean, you can be really, really effective as a pitcher. So I think for him, he was able to get some decent strikeout numbers last year, 127 in those 119 innings. So Patrick, there may be some regression, certainly, just with how great his rookie season was. There may be a little bit of that. I think there's some of that concern with a lot of guys with the Brewers. Tobias Myers, we saw, had a great rookie season in 24. Then he regressed in 2025. Had a little bit of struggles there. So it certainly is possible. Development isn't always linear. Patrick really he didn't have great success in AAA when the Brewers were getting him, but he ends up turning it around. Brewers get him, ends up doing better down there, and then the Brewers call him up, and he ends up having a phenomenal season. So I really like Chad Patrick. I love his attitude. I love the way that he pitches out there on the mound, and I think this is a year where he could take a step forward, but I think there's also a risk of potentially taking a step back. I'm not sure how much more of a step forward there is. I'm not sure how high the ceiling really is with Chad Patrick. If there's too much more for him to get from that ceiling, he may be at it. He may be at his ceiling right now, entering his age 27 season. I'm still very excited. I mean, that being said, I'm still very excited for what he can do with this group, and I think he is in a good position right now in order to be able to get one of those rotation spots in the beginning of the year. These rotation spots are probably going to be in flux quite a bit throughout the season. Probably going to be a lot of shuffling of the deck here. But provided he remains healthy and provided he continues to put up good results, he's going to be able to keep that spot. Because that's the thing, too. With all these guys he's competing with, he may be able to get that initial job based on what he did last year. But if he struggles, the Brewers have no shortage of options to replace him. So that's something that he's going to have to keep an eye on. I mean, that's what Tobias Myers had to deal with last season. So that does worry me a little bit, that he could have a little bit of that Tobias Myers vibe coming into the season, just because rookie year was so good, so really kind of unexpected and out of nowhere. Maybe the league figures him out a little bit and takes some steps forward on him. But time will tell. I'm just excited to see what Patrick can do, and I think he's in line for a spot in that starting rotation to begin the season. All right. Also, to begin the season, we have spring training, a whole bunch of players in big league camp, but we are losing the first one. We have seen the first camp cut, and typically these come in batches, especially early on here. It's generally a lot of your minor league guys, your non-roster invitees that you brought in. You reassign them to minor league camp, guys who didn't have much of a shot to begin with, and it's typically a giant bunch at the beginning. But this one is different. This one's kind of a bit more of a special case. The Brewers have reassigned Gerson Garabito to minor league camp. He was a free agent, minor league signing, non-roster invitee to camp, relief pitcher. And Garabito, this isn't really a surprise that he gets cut. It's also not entirely a surprise that he gets cut this early, because we also found out that just a couple of days ago that Garabito broke a bone in his foot and had surgery. So he's going to be out for the next 4 months. Yeah, so because he's going to be out for 4 months and not able to pitch, the Brewers have reassigned him to minor league camp. I mean, there's no point in keeping this whole charade through of him competing for a major league roster spot, because he's not even able to go out there and compete. I mean, even if he was on the outside looking in to begin with, he was not able to compete. He was not able to pitch with the broken bone in his foot. So Garabito is the first cut of camp. Not really a surprise. Maybe, in July, we'll see what he can do in AAA Nashville, and maybe he can make some noise and earn a call-up later in the year. I'm not expecting much, but still, that is the first cut of Major League Camp. Gerson Garabito. We barely knew you in big league camp. All right. So the Brewers are going to be continuing here. The Brewers are back in action against the San Francisco Giants today at American Family Fields of Phoenix. So it's going to be continued action as spring training rolls along here. Garrett Mitchell is going to get his first action in spring training play. So very excited to see that. Excited to see things continue to roll on as we've got games happening every single day now. Absolutely love it. Love having actual games to talk about, games to see during the day. And it just makes it all the more fun as we continue here every single day on Brewers Daily. So be sure to subscribe, get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.